Hey, what's up, folks? We are going to discuss a concept of the double pawns in chess. Um, very rarely it might present with some benefits, but mostly having double pawns in chess, it's a complicated thing because they are weak. They are weak, and you will have to summon pieces to defend them. Okay, let's have a look very practically at a various scenarios, and we're gonna just be very concrete on situations here. So, on the scenario we are looking at now, we could generate a trade. For instance, this bishop on c3 is very active, very dangerous, cruising here on this diagonal. So you would like also, in principle, to remove your opponent's dangerous active pieces, especially those that aim at your king. Now you got a guy here ready to trade that bishop. All right, so you took a bishop now. They will have to take you back. That won't be very beneficial because you're going to take with tempo, generating check, then they have to take, and then you're going to take. So actually, you're going to come up on top with extra piece here. So they took, and now you already notice here there is a c2 and c3 double pawns, and you're going to simply attack those pawns, especially the pawn on c3, and you are simply doing better here with the black pieces. Look at the position. Understand how effective they are when pawns are connected, defending one another, and how difficult it is when they are isolated and doubled, especially c3 and the pawn on a2. Also, rook has to be, behind the pawn to defend them, because if they move or if they attempt to move, this guy might be captured, and so forth. So isolated pawn, double pawns, try to avoid them. And if possible, to generate double pawns to your opponents, go for it. Another example, my chess friends. I love this position here because it's a middle game and tactics are incredibly important, paramount here. Now, we can notice that the knight on b6 attacks on c4. Okay, cool. Now, the pawn on c4 is defended by the bishop on e2. Okay, cool. Might there be a way in which we might attempt to deflect the bishop from defending this pawn? Perhaps if we trade, if we exchange the knight on f3, might that have an effect? Because in principle, if we take the knight and they recapture with the bishop, we might be able to grabbing this guy and attacking the queen and the bishop. Just give an idea. So let's just take that guy, and if they don't want to get into this kind of complications, they might just simply capture back with the pawn, therefore having double pawns here. Again, isolated on h2, f2, and f3 double pawns. And on long term, it should be more advantageous for black. So always, my chess friends, if you can, look for producing to your opponents this kind of unpleasant situations here. Now, you are a piece up indeed in this exercise, but the bishop hits the queen, and also your knight is being attacked. And if you, obviously, you are going to save your queen. But before you save your queen, so obviously, if you're going to move the queen, they're going to take your knight here. But let's just say something. Why not creating a mess of the pawns defending the king, and then you are going to save the queen? So why not just playing a knight to f3, which is a bit of a forcing move here because it checks the king and it attacks the rook and forces them to take with the g2 pawn. And when they do so, you're going to play a devastating queen to c6. That actually aims at f3. Very dangerous stuff. So they can't really ignore this kind of situation here. And after rook e3, you are going to intensify your attack with a very natural, incredibly powerful move. Look at this beautiful e5 pawn's advancement now. That actually clears the way for the rook. And this is absolutely so dangerous for white here. I'm really not sure how they're going to be surviving this onslaught here. Especially after rook e6, rook g6 ideas, it is really problematic for them. Of course, I'm not even mentioning it because if this pawn takes, the bishop is hanging, etc. So very bad for white here, and incredibly optimistic for black's chances of attacking. Next exercise, my chess friends. So that's a bit straightforward. Now, is there any piece you could particularly aiming at taking it and generating double pawns? Of course it is, and you should be going after the bishop on f3. Let's take this guy here. Okay, we're gonna do maybe 2-3 more exercises here. Oh, I love this type of tactics here. Probably you remember the principle to adding pressure on a piece which is pinned. In our position here, the knight on f3 is pinned by the bishop to the queen. Can you add another attacker? One more piece that actually places more pressure on that knight. Or as they say on chesskey.com, PP on the PP. Put pressure on the pin piece. And obviously, you probably noticed already, we're having the gorgeous move, knight to d4. And it's difficult. It's just difficult. I'm not having any good ideas here for white. It's difficult. There is not too much of a good move available for them here. Awesome, because you're creating so nice of a threat. This one here, very positional, and very straightforward way for you guys to take advantage. For instance, now here, you could do something with the knight on f6. You already have a bishop here aiming at h2. Can you get another black piece to attack the h2 pawn? Of course you can. Is this knight on f6 that goes to g4. Now you're attacking once and twice, but there is more to it. Let's suppose they are defending the h2. Just give example after either g3 or they're just playing h3. Okay, so they either lose a pawn, and if they choose to defend it, now you are going to do double pawns to white here, and you are going to take this guy here on e3. They're going to be taking back, and very difficult. They will have a very weak pawn attackable on all directions by either queen or you name it. Could be bishop, could be queen, and very difficult. White would have to keep pieces to looking after that pawn. That's how it goes with the double pawns. Again, mostly you're getting in trouble or your opponent has difficulties if they get with the double pawns weaknesses on the board. Let's have a look here. And I also love to do forks. So my chess friends, if you could play a move that threatens 2, 3 pieces at the same time using a beautiful knight, always do it. And look at this knight on c4, how attacks the rook. Rook had to retreat, okay? And now you're aiming and displacing, taking a piece that actually it's quite dangerous and active. Remember, remove your opponent's dangerous pieces, especially those pesky bishops that look towards your king's fortress. So now you're going to take this guy on b3, and they will take back very likely, therefore double pawns. Isolated guy here. What's not to like about black's position? So very good. This is a weakness. Double pawns mean a weakness. It's a problem. Okay, double pawns is trouble. In this scenario here, probably the last exercise you're going to be doing, we are going to be doing together, guys, is knight on c6 under attack. White already has a problem with the c4 and c3, but perhaps c4, which is already targeted by the bishop on a6, can be attacked one more time. And you can definitely play something very effective. For instance, knight to a5. And now you're attacking c4 twice. Can they defend? No, they cannot. There's just nothing they could do here. There is no counterplay. They are going to be dropping that pawn. You're definitely doing better here with the black pieces. Again, even if you take that pawn, the game is not over. You're doing better positional, better tactics. You should be winning medium long term, but always remember to maintain the focus because the game is not over. But it's important, these little details, either generating double pawns, putting pressure on the pin piece, they all add up in the end. Okay, so you will be having a more advantageous position, easy for you to capitalize your advantage, and hopefully increasing your chances to winning that game. Thank you very much, guys. Subscribe to this channel, please. Like it, share it with your friends. Find me live on all social media, Twitch. I'm streaming on YouTube and Facebook as well. And we'll be in touch, and maybe we can play a friendly game live on my stream. Thank you. Have a wonderful day.